Your college basketball weekend is here.
Rise and fire. Count it. Instant classic. The slipper still fits. When they need baskets, they go to them. 2 to tie, and 3 will win it.
From Cinderella runs to covering at the buzzer, we've got your winning playbook covered. This is BetMGM U with Chris Mack, RJ Choppy, and John Martin on the BetMGM Network.
And it is the most wonderful weekend of the year for most sports fans, especially college hoops fans. Welcome in to BetMGM U, live coast to coast on the BetMGM Network alongside RJ Choppy. I'm Chris Mack. John Martin is hopefully not on the roof of the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, hangover style. Hopefully he's behaving himself in Las Vegas, where he is enjoying this weekend as well. So we will try to push through without him. You could take us with you wherever you're going. Maybe you're out in Vegas. Maybe you're somewhere else. Maybe you're just on your couch with the BetMGM app in your hand, wherever you are. We are right there with you inside the Odyssey app, AUDACY. And, of course, BetMGMU, always available in podcast form as well. Knowing that you're listening to this on Friday night or Saturday morning, there's a good chance you're looking in the rear view at Thursday's action and saying, oh, my brackets, or, ooh, my brackets. And you're looking ahead to some Sweet 16 tickets getting punched on Saturday. We are going to roll through all 8 Saturday games and preview each one of them here today, Choppy. But let's start with this. The ACC was having a down year to begin with, right? And Louisville and Clemson both get bounced in the first round. Louisville, okay, it's an 8-9 against Creighton. No big whoop, I don't think. The Clemson lost to McNeese, though. And McNeese now gets to go up against Purdue, which a game we'll get into in just a moment here. But Clemson bounced as well. Does the ACC have a legitimate everybody but Duke problem now?
No, I don't think everybody but Duke, because I think Carolina, long term is still a major player. I think what the ACC has is they have a money problem. They have an NIL problem. Go look at, why did UCLA and USC leave the Pac-12 for the Big Ten? Money. They, as a university, they value sports? Do they value all the sports? UCLA doesn't have a full-length indoor practice facility for football. That's all you need to know. Kevin Willard is going off about Maryland, and I know they're not in the ACC, but it's the point. It's still a school that has to make the decision about NIL. Going off about not being able to spend an extra night in New York City around Christmas time with his players. It's a money issue. The reason the SEC is doing so well in basketball is they've invested in it, and the Big Ten has been really good in basketball because they've invested in it. I don't think it's a conference problem. I think it's an individual school problem that, are you investing money in NIL? And when, the AD at Maryland is going to leave for SMU is going to put money into it. They're showing that. They're showing they're putting money into it. I think this is a money thing. I don't know that this is conference specific. I think it's just about money. If you're not willing to pay the NIL money, then your team is not going to be very good. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah, might be part of the problem out in the Mountain West, as well as they had a couple teams bounce. Utah State got absolutely waxed on Thursday night. But let's pivot forward then and talk about what to expect from the teams that won on Thursday, who are all moving forward to play on Saturday. 8 different tickets to the Sweet 16 are going to get punched, which means we've got 8 games to talk about over the next 50 minutes or so here on BetMGMU. And let's start with the one that starts the day on Saturday, 12:10 Eastern, 9:10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to get up and have some breakfast out west while you're watching the tournament, you can, as the aforementioned 12-seed McNeese State takes on Purdue. I was out on Purdue coming into the tournament, Choppy. They had been really inconsistent down the stretch. They had not won a game against a quality opponent away from home since the middle of January, but they may have found themselves just a little bit against High Point, a team that I liked in an upset spot. Doesn't work out for them. This one being played in Providence, and Purdue laying 6.5 against McNeese, who upset the aforementioned Clemson Tigers, outscoring Clemson 31-13 in the first half. Can their defense do to Purdue what it did to Clemson in the first half of that first-round game?
Yeah, that's a good question because, if that game lasted 2 more minutes, Clemson probably wins. And that's kind of scaring me. It's kind of scared me off this game. My initial thought, just watching that first half of the McNeese and Clemson game, it's like, what? I'm gonna take the points here. I'm gonna take McNeese plus the 6.5. They ended poor. They didn't end great. And how much of that is you get up, you get out of your offense, you get out of your rhythm. You're just trying to burn clock. And then all of a sudden you look up and it's an 8-point game. Oh crap. Yeah. So I was on High Point. I had High Point over Purdue. I had them covering. I had the under. I mean, yeah, it was a bad day, but it was a tough one. Take your L's and we move on.
Took some on the chin in the first round. Well, I was on a bunch of dogs. We took some on the chin. Yeah. It happened.
All dogs, all unders. They usually pay off, but not on day one. I don't trust Purdue either. I don't know what to make of McNeese. I thought for sure McNeese was going to come out and mail it in. They're losing their coach. We've seen this before, and they responded. I got to give them a ton of credit. They got swag, that team. They got a lot of good vibes about them. I'm really loving what McNeese is doing. I just don't know. The second half of that Clemson game is scaring me.
Yeah, I do think that swag, those vibes that you're talking about, walking down the hall with the boombox and everything, which is just fantastic. That is kind of the Will Wade effect, right? Like, dude has been at a big school. He's run a big program. He's done all the things that you weren't supposed to do then that are totally fine to do now. And so I kind of like them here in this spot. To now that they've won the first game, got it under their belt, maybe got a little bit of a scare in the second half against Clemson. Maybe that's just what they needed to provide a full 40-minute effort. And 6.5, a pretty big number, I think, against Purdue, if they can lock down the Boilers defensively at times the way they did Clemson. So at the very least, the 6.5 I like. And I'm tempted. Like I said, the dogs blew up on me on the first day. I'm tempted to go McNeese like 2-1 on the money line. It's plus 205 at BetMGM. Maybe if you're looking for a little, money line dog to sprinkle something on, you could do worse than McNeese, I think. The game right after that one, also in Providence, man, talk about vibes. This is Calipari, Pitino, number 10 seed Arkansas, against the 2 seed St. John's. If you didn't stay up late Thursday night to watch St. John's just absolutely put it on Omaha after being down 7-0 to start the game, they put it on them and absolutely ran them out of the gym. 50-25, they outscored them in the second half. Calipari, for what it's worth, 16-12 straight up all time against Pitino, though, which includes 2-2 in the NCAA tournament. First time they've met, though, in 11 years in the tournament, the Elite Eight in 2014. Boogie Flan had a great game against Kansas. First time he'd played in, about 2 months. 24 minutes, 6 points, 3 assists. That's great for a first game back, in my opinion, and now maybe they turn his minutes up. If you want Arkansas money line, another 2-1 dog here. The spread 7.5. Choppy. St. John's is favored by.
This is, the one thing about Calipari with his record against Pitino, I would venture to guess he had a talent advantage in a lot of those games, and that's not the case. Here I know he's got talent. I kind of would like. I kind of think I might go under the 144.5. Although unders killed me on Thursday, they just killed me. Man, did they kill me? I don't buy Arkansas. I don't think they can win this game. I think St. John's is too good. I don't know if St. John's is going to cover the spread though. That's what scares me. If I was going to pick and bet either one, it would probably be the under. The money line is intriguing. If you think Arkansas can win, that's an intriguing money line to get 240. That's a lot. Yeah. I mean, the implied odds are probably bigger than a 7.5, but I would probably lean on the under.
I tell you what, I look, I love what Cal has done, squeaking into the tournament this year by the Hogs turning things up in the last month and a half, 2 months of the regular season. I'm with you. I don't think there's any way they win this one. There is a marked talent advantage. And I think St. John's covers. They have just, you go back, other than their win over Marquette and maybe their win on the road at Butler, you go back over the last 2 months, they have won emphatically. And I think they've covered every time as well. Beating Creighton in the Big East tournament by 16. Same thing against Marquette. Nearly or more than 20 against Butler. They won that one by 21. So they've really hit a groove, and I think they're going to put it on the Hogs on Saturday. So I would be willing to lay the 7.5 in that one. Late afternoon in Denver. Well, it'll be mid-afternoon in Denver, 5:15 in the East, 3:15 Mountain. 5-seed Michigan against 4-seed Texas A&M. Congratulations. If you win, you'll probably move on to face Auburn, which is something to talk about later. But Michigan's red hot. They've won each of their last 4 games, going back through the Big Ten tournament, obviously. They opened the game against UC San Diego, outscoring them 41-27 in the second half. Dusty May now 5-2 straight up and against the spread in the big dance. And Golden led them 14 points, 7 rebounds in only 27 minutes. They're really big inside, and I think that may be the advantage here for Michigan. But Texas A&M, I think we know can score. They're laying 2.5.
My initial thought was A&M, but then I was like, they didn't play tremendous at times down the stretch. They got beat by Texas in the SEC tournament. They had quite a layoff. They had a full week. They had a full week layoff between games, and then they came out and. They were a chic upset first-round pick. A lot of people picked Yale. And, they put up more points than I expected them to in that game. Both teams actually did. So my initial thought was A&M minus the 2.5. Then I started to waffle a little bit on this because, Michigan has been playing such great basketball of late. But, should they have even been in this situation after their first-round game? So it's a no play for me. It's a flat out no play. The number I'm not touching. They scared me off of that, and I'm not going to touch the spread either way. And the money line, I don't think there's any value on the money line either.
No, I mean if you like Michigan, I think the play is to just take the 2.5. It's plus 125 on the money line at BetMGM right now. Here's the thing about A&M, and I have A&M in my bracket to win this one. But watching the way they played against Yale, where there were times Yale kept sneaking back into that thing here and there, right? They pull within 7, 8, or 9, and you go, okay, maybe I should flip back over to this one, pay a little closer attention. And eventually they ended up putting it away, right? There wasn't a problem in the end. But that was with a pretty big rebounding advantage, 35-28. They also shot the Aggies 52% from the field in that 80-71 victory over Yale. Felt like they got away with falling asleep at times because they had the rebounding advantage, because they were shooting well on Thursday. I'll be honest. I think I would be on Michigan here, plus the 2.5. A&M's not going to rebound out Michigan or out rebound, Michigan. I just don't see that happening. I think Michigan being with their big men inside is going to be able to handle the glass. And I think if Michigan doesn't get the out and out upset, I do think we're going to have a last-second one-bucket game. So I have no problem riding with Michigan on this one, taking the 2.5, like you said, the better value, or at least the better bet than the money line in case you get A&M pulling it out at the last minute. So those are the first 3 games from Saturday's action that we're going to preview. We've got 5 more. Again, 8 tickets are going to be punched to the Sweet 16 by the time we wrap up today's edition of BetMGMU. I got to ask, Choppy, what's your final 4, though? Who do you have? What's your bracket look like?
I have Florida, Auburn, Duke, Tennessee. I have Duke
of course he has
losing
Tennessee.
to Florida.
Okay.
I have Duke losing to Florida.
Florida feels way too popular a pick over the last 3 or 4 days. I ended up with them as well. I have Florida over Houston, and Michigan State and Duke also in the Final Four. I got Michigan State upsetting Auburn in the Elite Eight. I did not ride with your Vols. I think the Vols and the Houston Cougars, though, may play the tightest, most low-scoring game in Elite Eight history. That thing may end up lower scoring than my kids' 5th, 6th grade youth league games, which last night was 38-31, I think. Houston and Tennessee may challenge that one. We'll get into the rest of Saturday's games. We'll lead it off with an 11 seed looking to pull off an upset streak as they take on a 3 seed out west. Coming up next as we motor through all of these Saturday games with you alongside RJ Choppy. I'm Chris Mack. This is BetMGMU.
You've been listening to BetMGMU on the BetMGM Network. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the Odyssey app. Download the BetMGM app today. Please gamble responsibly. Get ready to experience the ultimate fusion of wagering and entertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Kicking off your morning with the Daily Tip with Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger.
Over.
It's a very simple way to look at it. It's the best way to look at it.
Followed by the newly branded Bet Sweats with Joe O and Sammy P.
When I stop talking, that's when you jump in usually.
He said, ring that bell! He said, ring that bell!
Then it's You Better You Bet, hosted by Nick Costos and Femi Abebefe.
Great teams and great players get a whistle. It's happened forever. It will continue to happen.
Capped off every night with the electric Brad Evans and Ryan Horvat on BetMGM tonight.
Oh, that's a sexy phrase.
Quote Dr. Dre, creep with me and walk with me on this one.
Welcome to a new era of wagertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Please gamble responsibly. Get ready to experience the ultimate fusion of wagering and entertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Kicking off your morning with the Daily Tip with Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger.
Over. It's a very simple way to look at it. It's the best way to look at it.
Followed by the newly branded Bet Sweats with Joe O and Sammy P.
When I stop talking, that's when you jump in usually.
He said, ring that bell! He said, ring that bell!
Then it's You Better You Bet, hosted by Nick Costos and Femi Abebefe.
Great teams and great players get a whistle. It's happened forever. It will continue to happen.
Capped off every night with the electric Brad Evans and Ryan Horvat on BetMGM tonight.
Oh, that's a sexy phrase.
Quote Dr. Dre, creep with me and walk with me on this one.
Welcome to a new era of wagertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Please gamble responsibly. Let's get back to BetMGM on the BetMGM Network.
All right, we are 3/8 of the way through our previews for Saturday's action. Welcome back into BetMGM live coast to coast on the BetMGM Network, wherever you may be in the world. Inside your Odyssey app, AUDACY. It's free. Download it today and always available in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. Just search BetMGM. You can watch the show as well on the BetMGM Network YouTube feed. Alongside RJ Choppy, I'm Chris Mack. John Martin off gallivanting in Vegas doing God knows what. We just hope he comes home with enough money to pay the mortgage for next month. But we miss him this week because we know he's living his best life out there as the first weekend of the NCAA tournament is underway. If you're a sports fan, a few of the most glorious days on the sports calendar underway right now. We previewed. If you missed it, you can always rewind if you're inside the Odyssey app, or like I said, download us in podcast form. Just got done previewing McNeese, Purdue, Arkansas, St. John's, and Michigan, Texas A&M. Let's pivot to 6:10 Eastern, 3:10 Pacific. This one being played in Wichita in the West region. Choppy, 11th-seeded Drake against 3rd-seeded Texas Tech, who's laying 7.5 against Drake. 260 on the money line for Drake. Chance McMillan didn't play in their opening round victory for the Red Raiders. Upper body injury. We'll see if he's back for this one. Not sure. Drake shot better than 54% from the field and 50% from deep in that opening round upset over Missouri. Plus, Bennett Steritz led the way, 21 points for them, Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. This would be Drake's first Sweet 16 berth in, are you ready, 54 years. Does it happen, Choppy?
No, it does not happen. And look, I hate this matchup for Drake because I think Drake's got a real good chance. They're a good enough team. I wanted to see them make a run.
Yeah,
I just think Texas Tech is such a good basketball team. And I really like the Red Raiders to go to the Elite Eight. I think they win this week, and I think they obviously this game. Then I think they go and they beat St. John's, I guess. So I like the Red Raiders. I wish it wasn't this team they were playing that Drake was playing because I just don't think they're going to beat them. Like athletically, Tech is good. They're the best player on the floor. Covering. If I was going to bet, my initial thought was take the under. But because just Drake is just such a slow tempo team, I can't imagine that they get up near 130 as a total. I just can't imagine they do. I know they did kind of came close on Thursday, but I think the under, if anything, would be the play. I don't like the 7.5. That's too many. If it was at a 5.5, 4.5, maybe I can do and lay Texas Tech, but 7.5, I can't do that.
Yeah, 126.5 on the total tells you exactly what the books think of the amount of offense we'll get in this thing. And I think I might be with you. I think that might be the one bet on this game, is to still take the under. You're absolutely right about Drake, though. As much as I like some of the other 6 seeds, and I do like Ole Miss in the South, and I even kind of like Illinois in the Midwest, if you would have put Drake up against any of the other 3 6 seeds, either of those two or BYU, I'd have felt a whole lot better about their opportunity to move forward. But here they are. They get Missouri, and now they're up against 3 seed Texas Tech. I mean, you look even at the other 3s, like Iowa State. Drake, Iowa State, I think would have been an interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Drake, Kentucky might have been an interesting game, depending on how hot Kentucky's shooting on a given night. But yeah, the way the bracket fell, I don't think Drake is long for another round. I don't think they get that first Sweet 16 berth in more than half a century, and I think I may be with you on the under. All right, this one is going to be interesting. This is Creighton and Auburn, the 9-1 game after Creighton's win on Thursday. They are now getting 8.5, 9.5 at BetMGM against Auburn. Creighton, almost 50% from 3 in that win over Louisville. Jemiah Neal, career-high 29 points. Creighton's now won at least a single NCAA tournament game in each of the last 5 seasons, but this is Auburn. Come on. They blew the doors off Alabama State in, the last 24, 25 minutes of the game, outscored them 55-39. But this would be their first Sweet 16 appearance since they went to the Final Four in 2019. 9.5, I don't think it's enough, Choppy. I like Auburn. I don't have them, as we talked about, getting to the Final Four. I think they'll get bounced in the Elite Eight by Michigan State, but I think until they get to that point, they've got a pretty smooth road.
Yeah, they do. And I'll tell you this. My initial thought, because something's going to have to give here. My initial thought was, that's too many points for Creighton. Creighton is really good with the spot-up shooting. And the problem is that Auburn is elite at defending the spot-up shooting. So something's going to have to give. My initial thought was Creighton plus the 9.5. Auburn wins. I actually think I might go over the number of the 150. It's a big number, but these two teams could score. They could score a lot. So over is my play. My play is going to be over the 150.5. I still might take Creighton in the 9.5. That's a lot. That's a lot of points. I feel like I'm convincing myself of both things here, but I'm just going to stick with the number of the 150.5.
Oh, yeah. Again, we're both leaning towards the total, I think, in the last couple of games, because there's a very clear way we can see these games playing out. I think if you get 2 good shooting teams like Creighton and Auburn, it's probably more likely we're going to go over the number, 150.5, a number I don't mind taking the over on in this case. So I think I'd be with you. Again, I do lean towards Auburn covering the 9.5. I may go in on that one as well. Not all the way there yet. But like I said, the thing with Auburn is the South bracket. And look, they're the number 1 overall seed. They should have a fairly smooth path to the Elite Eight. And they do. If they beat Creighton, it will go Alabama State, Creighton, and then either A&M or Michigan. A couple of other teams I think they can handle. Not to say without a problem, but they can handle. Before they finally go up against whoever comes out of the bottom side, which feels most likely like Michigan State. At least, again, that's what I have in my bracket. But Auburn's got a nice, fairly smooth path all the way to the Elite Eight here, Choppy. And when you're the 1 seed, you get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you do. And that's what you've earned. They've earned it. They earned it. Now, I did think that they did get a little hosed by the committee, putting them in Lexington with Louisville as potentially their second-round matchup. That's not protecting your 1 seed. That's just not. But, the rest of it, it's, I mean, truthfully, like on paper, not on paper, but like the way it's shaking up right now, I'm just looking at my bracket. I think if they get to Carolina, if Carolina makes the Elite, that could be their most brutal matchup in this region. Just the way, if Carolina plays anything like they played in the first four, it could be tough.
I'm going to be really curious. Again, like I said, I have Michigan State beating Auburn in the Elite Eight, but I'm going to be really curious to see what the pace of that game is like, how it's played, whether Michigan State is able to slow it down into the half-court battle that they want it to be. But that's a story for, if we get there, next weekend on BetMGMU. This weekend, we're focused on the Saturday games. Tickets getting punched to the Sweet 16. 6-seed BYU, 3-seed Wisconsin in Denver, Colorado. 5 different Badgers scored in double digits in their first-round victory over Montana that never really felt like it was in question at all. This will be their 4th game in the last 7 days, though, going back through the Big East tournament run they had. They haven't been to a second weekend since 2017. BYU hasn't since 2011. Their win over VCU ended a 5-game NCAA tournament losing streak dating back 13 years. This is an interesting one for me. I'll be honest, I had VCU upsetting BYU. I didn't have this matchup. I have Wisconsin going fairly deep in this tournament because I believe Wisconsin is still more the team that we saw, say, late January, early to mid-February, than they were at the very tail end of the regular season. I think if they get hot, look out. And this is only a 1.5. I like Wisconsin laying less than a bucket here, Choppy.
Well, obviously, this is one where whoever you think is going to win, you either take the 1.5 from Wisconsin or you do BYU money line, because you have to you lay less juice on the BYU money line. Initial thought is, hey, because I had VCU too. Initial thought, Wisconsin. I am not going to go down that road, though. I'm going to flip, and I'm going to take BYU money line here. The number 5,280. This game is in Colorado. The altitude. BYU is used to playing in altitude. They have no problem with it. I wonder how Wisconsin feels the next day. Not that. Last I checked, there are no mountains in Wisconsin.
No, mountains of cheese, but not real mountains.
Guessing. Yeah, just guessing there. Okay, I don't think the altitude. Yeah. BYU is used to this. They live in this, so I'm actually going to take BYU. I'm going to ride them money line.
That's a hell of a point, especially given, like we mentioned, the amount of basketball Wisconsin has played in the last week. This will be their 4th game in 7 days. So you combine that with the altitude. Does it lead to Wisconsin slowing down in critical points in this game, dealing with fatigue against a team that, like you said, has played at altitude? So worth keeping an eye on. Let's jump ahead so we don't get too far behind here and look at an 8-1 matchup being played in Wichita. This one in the Midwest region. We've got the 1-seed Houston Cougars laying 4.5 and 8:40 Eastern, 7:40 Central, 5:40 Pacific. If you're out there, Zags fans, tip time. Gonzaga 176 on the money line and getting 4.5 against a Houston Cougars team that's been to 5 consecutive Sweet 16s dating back to 2019. That has Jawan Roberts back, played only 21 minutes in their opening round victory against Southern Illinois Edwardsville. But this feels like Houston locks down Gonzaga. I don't have a problem with them covering the spread that's actually out to 5.5 now at BetMGM. I just don't think Gonzaga can win it both ways, and I think Houston is going to lock them down. And probably they'll grind it out, and it won't be a rock fight necessarily, but they'll win a tight, low-scoring game. I wouldn't have any problem going under the 139.5 here as well.
Houston and Florida really got kind of screwed. They don't have any of these, regions near where they are. Like Houston have to go to Wichita. That's the closest that you can get them. Florida all the way to Raleigh. It's the closest that you can get them. It's just kind of it's a little unfortunate for them. A bit of a bad luck draw on the year. I like Houston too. That's a low number, 4.5, 5.5. I think there's a lot of hype around Gonzaga for the way they dispatched to Georgia, a Georgia team that thought the game was actually on Friday and not on Thursday. That's what happened there. I don't know that they're just a 4.5 or 5.5 point away from Houston type team. Now, I will say this. Their metrics look much better than their seed. If you were to just go by some of the advanced stats, like I don't think Gonzaga would be in the in the 9 seed. Yeah, you know what I mean? They're not. I don't see them being there. Like, so I do think you're getting. They're underseeded, and because like they're 7th in KenPom, dude. Like they're massively underseeded. This is a terrible luck of the draw for Houston. This is like Wichita State getting Kentucky as the 8th seed that one year where they were like 34-0 to start the year. Like, what's going? What are we doing? You know, and it's the same thing with the Zags.
Yeah, the draw is not good. I don't know how the 7th overall team in KenPom ends up with an 8 seed either. I mean, strength of schedule, I get it. Who did they play other than St. Mary's and maybe San Francisco? If you want to throw them into the mix as well. I get it to an extent, but I don't think, bad seeding or not, I don't think the Cougs have a problem with this one. I think Houston takes care of business. Again, if you're not comfortable laying 5.5 in what may end up being a low-scoring game, I would be comfortable, at least I am, going under the 139.5. I think this feels like a classic 70-60 kind of Houston win where they just lock down the opposing team, keep them under 40% from the field, don't let them out-rebound you, and just kind of choke the life out of the game, especially in the second half. We got one more game from Saturday's slate to preview, one that is of immense interest to my esteemed co-host, and it is the final game, the final ticket that will be punched to the Sweet 16 on Saturday night. We'll get into that one and maybe look as well at some futures that are still out there, some Sweet 16 bets, some national championship bets as we push along here, getting you through what may be the best sports weekend of the year. It's the opening 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. Sweet 16 tickets getting punched, and we've got all your bets for you, all the action right here alongside the absent John Martin and the present RJ Choppy. I'm Chris Mack, live coast to coast on the BetMGM network. This is BetMGM-U.
You've been listening to BetMGM-U on the BetMGM network. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the Odyssey app. Download the BetMGM app today. Please gamble responsibly. Get ready to experience the ultimate fusion of wagering and entertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Kicking off your morning with the Daily Tip with Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger.
Over. It's a very simple way to look at it. It's the best way to look at it.
Followed by the newly branded Bet Sweats with Joe O and Sammy P.
When I stop talking, that's when you jump in usually.
He said, ring that bell! He said, ring that bell! Then it's You Better You Bet, hosted by Nick Costos and Femi Abebefe.
Great teams and great players get a whistle. It's happened forever. It will continue to happen.
Capped off every night with the electric Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath on BetMGM tonight.
Oh, that's a sexy phrase.
Quote Dr. Dre, creep with me and walk with me on this one.
Welcome to a new era of wagertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Please gamble responsibly. Get ready to experience the ultimate fusion of wagering and entertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Kicking off your morning with the Daily Tip with Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger.
Over.
It's a very simple way to look at it. It's the best way to look at it.
Followed by the newly branded Bet Sweats with Joe O and Sammy P.
When I stop talking, that's when you jump in usually.
He said, ring that bell! He said, ring that bell!
Then it's You Better You Bet, hosted by Nick Costos and Femi Abebefe.
Great teams and great players get a whistle. It's happened forever. It will continue to happen.
Capped off every night with the electric Brad Evans and Ryan Horvat on BetMGM tonight.
Oh, that's a sexy phrase.
Quote Dr. Dre, creep with me and walk with me on this one.
Welcome to a new era of wagertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Please gamble responsibly. Let's get back to BetMGM on the BetMGM Network.
Some best bets for you before we wrap up here on BetMGM live coast to coast on the BetMGM Network every Friday night and Saturday morning. Perfect timing because we are previewing Saturday's second round games, punching tickets to the Sweet 16, and we got one more to get to that is of particular interest to Mr. RJ Choppy. Alongside Choppy, I'm Chris Mack. John Martin has the weekend off. He's in Vegas somewhere. Hopefully he's still there and hasn't had to auction off a kidney or anything in order to stay at the tables. I hope it's going well for our boy out there in Vegas, and he's enjoying the hoops and the gaming as much as everybody else. Please gamble responsibly. You can always
tell
get
you
us.
this: we haven't heard from him. We haven't heard from him since he's been out there.
Means it's a 50-50 shot. He's either having the time of his life or the worst time ever. It's one or the other. There's no in between. I mean, that's Vegas in general, really. There's no just in between. Oh, I had an okay weekend in Vegas. It's either, oh my God, let me tell you what happened, or oh my God, let me tell you what happened. But anyway, John will hopefully be back next weekend. You can get us every weekend on the BetMGM Network YouTube stream, as well as in your Odyssey app, AUDACY. That takes us with you wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, and always in podcast form, wherever you get your podcasts as well. Just search BetMGMU. All right, we've previewed 7 of the 8 Saturday games. Let's get to the last one. Around 8:40, 8:45 Eastern, 7:45 Central or so. Actually, a little bit later. I'm off by an hour. 9:40 Eastern, 8:40 Central. The Tennessee Volunteers in Lexington, of all places, for their first 2-round games, will play the UCLA Bruins, favored by 4.5. Chaz Lanier, Zakai Ziegler continue to cook for the Vols. Choppy, 29 points for Lanier and Ziegler, 12 assists for him against Wofford. Not much of a test in their first-round matchup. Rick Barnes not imploding against Wofford, which is a good thing because Rick Barnes is known for that occasionally. UCLA, after getting blown out in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament, they absolutely mashed Utah State, held the Aggies to 30% shooting and just 4 of 31 from beyond the arc. Mick Cronin, for what it's worth, 3-0 in his last 3 second-round games. I know this is think with your head, but root with your heart and try to find a spot in between on how to bet it, Choppy. But what do you make of the Vols laying 4.5 to the Bruins?
It's a smaller number than I think a 2-7 matchup typically would be. 2-7 usually should be in probably the 6-ish range. It's kind of a home game. It's Lexington's, 3 hours from Knoxville. It's, less that from, parts of Tennessee that are still Tennessee fans, not necessarily Knoxville proper. So there should be a large Tennessee fan base that's in that arena. Tennessee does not play well late at night. This year they have played some of their more sleepy games late at night, and this is as late as it gets. This is going to be dang near. This is a 10 o'clock start. It's going to start probably about 9:50, 10 p.m. You can't be playing games that late. That's too late. That's too late for these kids to be playing. Kids got to go to sleep. They got to wake up in the morning. You just can't do that.
I'm sure they're all focused on schoolwork while they're not playing basketball.
Of course, especially on the weekend. Isn't it spring break? Aren't they on spring break now? So
these kids never stay up this late. What are we talking about?
They have FOMO, big time FOMO with all that stuff. So, I'll say this. They should win. I am a little bit scared about UCLA. UCLA's got good metrics on both offensive and defensive efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
The score of the previous game, of the Utah State game, throws everybody off. Utah State was just brutal with their shooting. When you're 4 of 31, you are not in any game. And that's one of those games like, all right, even if you played to your complete league forget going above and beyond your norm, just play slightly below your normal. You're talking about a game that's completely different from a score perspective. Tennessee should win this game. Betting it, usually how I do it is I take the other team money line. So I would take UCLA money line. That way, if Tennessee loses, I can at least make a little cash off of this thing. The total though, the 132.5. I've seen too many times where they could go either way. I would stay away from that one. The number is, if you think Tennessee's going to win, they're going to win by more than 5.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, and I think once again we come around to a total on this. Tennessee's defense is just suffocating at times. I believe that's what they're going to do to UCLA here, and the total sitting at 132.5. Hell, that's kind of a high-scoring game for a Tennessee game if we go back and look at their totals most of the season. I think the Vols just choke the life out of this one. I know I've used that term for a couple of these second-round games that we're going to see on Saturday, but I think this is what you get when you get beyond the first round, where a lot of these higher-seeded teams, 1s and 2s, can, quite frankly, coast in some instances and get away with it, still win big, as the Vols did against Utah State. As the Vols did in the first round against Wofford. And I think, you get to the second round, now you're playing a more legitimate opponent. It's not usually not one of these small conference teams that got in on an auto bid. It's a team that could give you some trouble if you're not up and awake for it. Yeah. And so I think you're going to get the best from the Vols. I think you're going to get one of the better defensive performances, which is saying something, that we've seen out of them this year. And I think it ends for UCLA in the second round in Lexington. I don't have a problem laying the 4.5, as you mentioned, but I do think for me it's another underplay, under the 132.5, and Tennessee probably ends up winning this one 65-60, something like that. Yeah. And we still comfortably come in under the number.
Because if you saw that game against Wofford, like, they weren't close enough. They didn't play their best game defensively. They were playing more of a, hey, you really can't beat us straight up. We're not going to go out and defend and risk a 4-point play or foul in a 3-point shooter. They played a much safer game. Let's just not get anybody in foul trouble. It just seemed they kind of sleptwalked through it. And that could be dangerous because that could get contagious.
Yeah, it can. Real fast, too. And then all of a sudden you look up and you got a 12-2 run against you, and you're either down or in a dogfight that you didn't expect to be in. I want to touch real quick. Any futures, before we get to our best bets to wrap things up here, we still do have a couple minutes. Any futures that you want to take advantage of now that maybe numbers have moved, or you've seen the way the bracket is played out in certain spots, anything that you like that maybe you'd like to jump on now, whether it's Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, National Championship?
Well, look, I do think that, and I've been on this team for a little. I do like Texas Tech at 35-1 now. They're down from 80-1. I think Gonzaga, like if they get by Houston, they could absolutely go on a little bit of a sprint, and you can get them at 50-1. So I actually think that's not bad. Those are two that I might throw a dollar or two down on.
Oh yeah, those aren't bad calls. I mean, you could get Texas Tech to win the West in some spots, right around 5-1, 6-1. You could get Michigan State, who I've mentioned a couple times here today, to win the South region at 5-1. Both of the one seeds in those regions right around -125, favorites to win their regions, obviously. And those teams give you an opportunity to make a few bucks if you think a non-one seed can come out of one of those regions. Those are definitely ones I would have an eye on. And I still got an eye on Michigan State at 25-1 to win the national championship. They're not my pick. They're not my play. But at that number, I think it's a decent price if they can just stay hot. The question will be, can they get through Auburn? I think if they can get through Auburn, literally anything is possible for Michigan State. Mm-hmm. And I do think Houston at 550 is still a decent number. If you haven't yet placed a future on Houston and you're looking for a national championship bet, you could do a whole lot worse than Houston at 550 because, like I said, I've got them going to the national championship game against Florida. I do think, like you said, because of the way the bracket sets up, if for some reason things go haywire against Gonzaga, although that's, I think, more of a dream scenario for you, right? Like Gonzaga takes care of Houston and now your Vols have a clearer path to the Final Four. But it remains, I guess, in the realm of possibility, right? Not just in choppy dreamland.
Man, you're talking to a Tennessee fan. I rooted for Loyola to beat Miami, and we got that, and then we wound up losing. I was rooting for, in 2008 or 9, Michigan State to knock off Maryland, and we got it, and we wound up losing in the next round. You're talking. I've seen this. I've been there.
Done that.
I'm enjoying this ride because I truly do believe this is the last ride. I believe this is Rick Barnes' last dance. I think he's going to retire at the end of the year after this tournament's over. So I'm enjoying this one, man. I'm gonna have fun with it. Not looking ahead, one game at a time. I'm not doing any of my superstitions. I'm gonna shave today. None of my superstitions are in play. I am just gonna enjoy this one. I truly believe this. I love this team. I love
existing in the
players
moment.
Of this team. I am living in the moment here. Here we go.
All right, give me your best bet for Saturday's action. Then, what do you got?
I'm gonna do the Creighton Auburn over 150.5. That's what I'm gonna ride with. I've got like 6 of them listed here, but I'm gonna go the Creighton Auburn over 150.5.
I've got a ton listed as well, but I think my 2 favorites that I've narrowed it down to where I may put a little bit more on that Gonzaga Houston under 141.5. You give me a total on a Houston game in the 140s. We're going under, straight under. I think they lock down the Zags. And then my favorite bet of the day, as much as I love the idea of my guy Cal somehow sneaking through to the Sweet 16 with this Arkansas team, you made a great point. There is a vast talent difference between what he's got in Arkansas right now and what Rick Pitino has in St. John's. And St. John's has been on fire for a good 3 months now. So St. John's laying 7.5. I think they are primed to thump the Hogs and move on to the Sweet 16. So those are our best bets. We will be back next weekend to talk about who we've got going to the Final Four, maybe. Yeah, we'll be punching some more tickets. We'll get John Martin back in the fold as well. Don't forget, you can get us in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. Just search BetMGMU for producer Zach Krell. For the absent John Martin, sleeping somewhere under a craps table in Las Vegas. And for my friend RJ Choppy, I'm Chris Mack. This has been BetMGMU.
You've been listening to BetMGMU on the BetMGM Network. If you missed any of the show, listen back anytime on the Odyssey app. Download the BetMGM app today. Please gamble responsibly. Get ready to experience the ultimate fusion of wagering and entertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Kicking off your morning with the Daily Tip with Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger.
Over. It's a very simple way to look at it. It's the best way to look at it.
Followed by the newly branded Bet Sweats with Joe O and Sammy P.
When I stop talking, that's when you jump in usually.
He said, ring that bell! He said, ring that bell!
Then it's You Better You Bet, hosted by Nick Costos and Femi Abebefe.
Great teams and great players get a whistle. It's happened forever. It will continue to happen.
Capped off every night with the electric Brad Evans and Ryan Horvat on BetMGM tonight.
Oh, that's a sexy phrase.
Quote Dr. Dre, creep with me and walk with me on this one.
Welcome to a new era of wagertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Please gamble responsibly. Get ready to experience the ultimate fusion of wagering and entertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Kicking off your morning with the Daily Tip with Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger.
Over.
It's a very simple way to look at it. It's the best way to look at it.
Followed by the newly branded Bet Sweats with Joe O and Sammy P.
When I stop talking, that's when you jump in usually.
He said, ring that bell! He said, ring that bell!
Then it's You Better You Bet, hosted by Nick Costos and Femi Abebefe.
Great teams and great players get a whistle. It's happened forever. It will continue to happen.
Capped off every night with the electric Brad Evans and Ryan Horvat on BetMGM tonight.
Oh, that's a sexy phrase.
Quote Dr. Dre, creep with me and walk with me on this one.
Welcome to a new era of wagertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Please gamble responsibly.